She was softly strong and rightly wrong, and forever longed to renew her face without her mask on. Her diminishing features gave me permission to be everything she no longer was. She constantly emptied out her cup to keep my ever insatiable thirst for success hydrated.
What was one of the biggest sacrifices you had to make as a mother, and how did you push through it?
When I think about my kids, I don't always think about it as a sacrifice. I think about how fortunate, how blessed, and what an impact that I would make, in their life. Being a mother is so rewarding to me. And to sacrifice, the end results is amazing, has been amazing. I'm very proud of my children. It wasn't easy, but it wasn't hard. We always hung tight together. We're a very tight-knit family. And I think the toughest time that we had is when I was diagnosed with breast cancer 12 years ago. And I like to teach you guys, don't start with me because I sacrificed a breast for you. So, that's the running joke, in the family. But if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't change a thing because the results were just amazing.
One of the biggest sacrifices I had to make as a mother was giving up the personal and independent me. I had to realize that I had to share my life with you, and I could no longer be selfish, that it was no longer just about me, but it was about the child that I now have.
One of the things I had to unlearn becoming your mom is being so opinionated. I'm still a work in progress, and I just know, like you said to me before, trust the process. And it's hard to let go as a mom, knowing that what's out here and the experience that I have and the things I've seen, and just to know that I want the best and I want to see you do well, all my children do well, and the sacrifices and the things that I've seen and want to make and want to just keep on cuddling you and keeping you as a baby, I know I can't do that.
What's so interesting is that I think once, because I'm not a mother yet, right? But I think what I've seen is once women become mothers, they project all of their fears into their daughters and into their kids. Everybody's path is their own. And your responsibility as a mother is to always be there to guide, right, wrong, or indifferent. And you have done that, you do that. But the projection of fear, if I took on your fear, I probably, more of my rebellious moments was pushing away from your fears on my life.
Yeah.
And that's something that I feel is frowned upon, especially in our community, when we're like, I want to do this. And it's like, I've never seen that be done, so you can't do it. Subconsciously, because you haven't experienced it, because the mothers haven't seen it be successful. Sometimes they fear the unknown path. But you got my back. I know that you're an amazing mom. There's no manual to it. There's no manual to it, and you're doing it well. But all my rebellious moments is me rebelling from your projection of fear onto me.
And then it has a lot to do with how I was raised. 5 girls in the family, 2 boys, and my parents and stuff. My dad was a hustler. My mom was a missionary, so I'm in between. So it has a lot about how you came up, and if you know better, you do better. I always say that. And I think that through raising you guys and getting to the next level, I've become very relaxed over the years because those teenage years have been like, I don't know, like, where you going, who you going, you with? So now I'm just like, I remember when I, took you to college and you were 16 years old. I just didn't even want to leave. I couldn't believe I was leaving this girl down there at 16 years old. But I already knew that God had you. You was ready. You assured me. You came out on time. And that's all I can ask for. And I appreciate you as a daughter, as a woman.
I had to heal from the reality that my mother did her best, even though for a long time I thought her best wasn't good enough. However, when I became a mother, I understood. So I healed from that, all the disappointments and pain from trauma, childhood trauma. And something I healed from and something I had to unlearn. So the thing I had to unlearn as a mother is that these beautiful women are my children, but they are their own person. And that was really hard for me because as a mother, growing up the way that I did, I was really overprotected, and I did not really want to relinquish power or control because you want better for your children than you could have ever imagined for yourself. So I had to really unlearn what I thought protection really is. You can protect and guide and nurture your children, but in the end, you have to trust that everything you have taught them and everything you have instilled in them will come out at the appropriate times, and that they are their own individual, beautiful beings, and just trust the process. Know that it's there, and they will regurgitate it when they need to, and they will hold on to it, and they will just thrive and survive. So I had to unlearn that, and I'm still unlearning it, actually.
A time where I completely disagree with you, but it brought us to a greater understanding was when there was that time where I continuously was hitting dead ends, trying to make it in the city, like dead broke. You had texted me, you said, Keisha, you're getting older, it's time for you to settle down, find a job. So the thought came across my mind, but again, that was the time when I first truly surrendered to God and was like, I don't want anything I thought I wanted. And so I asked God, like, what's your will for my life to God? And I went to the grocery store and I literally came across a book. God made me look directly at a book that said, what's God's will for my life? So I opened up the book. The first thing I saw was, do not conform to the patterns of this world. So I was like, okay, so I'm not going to settle down. I'm not going to get a job. I'm going to continue. I said, God, show me what I need to do. And so went on my way. But it brought me to a greater understanding because it made me realize, like, you only know what you know. Like, your generation did it a certain way. So I understand that.
So the time that when you were kind of going through your thing, you were going places and you really weren't settling down. I called you one time, you were in California. I called you again, you were in New York. And I didn't want that for you. Although I now understand that you were doing that because you were trying to find your niche in life. I think a lot of that decision where I was kind of against what you were trying to do was because I didn't feel I had control because you weren't where I could, protect you, so to speak. And I, being that I felt that I was a little bit wiser to the ways of the world, that you were in harm's way and I couldn't protect you if you were in California or you were in Arizona. But then on the other hand, I still had that, well, you know what, she's doing her. I had to kind of let it go and let you do you. I can't keep you a prisoner in this little circle. You had to find yourself. And I'm now at this stage, I'm happy you did, because I think matter of fact, I'll change that. I know it made you a better person.
Thank
By making those moves.
Yes, there was a time. I had a really bad day at school. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I was kind of in my own world for that day. I had a really bad day. I failed a test in my worst subject. And what held me back was fear that my mom was gonna get really mad at me. And the teacher ended up having my mom's phone number anyway. But it was kind of like I didn't really want to tell you because I know I was gonna get in trouble because you told me to study a lot. And
Did I pass that day?
you did. I did.
I think that for myself, I'm learning that our relationship shape shifts with time and to be open to new dynamics, and that communication has to be altered based off of our own individual growth. One time in particular that I can remember is when I was dropping out of grad school to become a sexologist, and everybody thought I was crazy. Like, they were like, who? Like, they didn't even know what it was. And I remember at the time, like, as most moms do, you were promoting practicality, like this is a short way, stay in grad school, you finish, you get this degree, and things like that. But in that moment, I just learned to trust that eventually, although my idea may have been rejected in the beginning, I learned to trust that eventually you would see the vision, and what you do, you're in full support of it now. So that was definitely like a hard moment where it was like, okay, like, I don't want to tell her this, or should I keep a secret in this? Boop, show up home, like all my stuff from college. But yeah, we moved past it, so it's been pretty cool to see our relationship evolve.
That I would like to share with you, that I've never shared with you before, is I really had to heal from it, was you instilled in me, like, to never ask for anything because you always said no. And it made me fear rejection. And I felt like I could never ask you. If I can't even ask my mom for something, then I'm not going to ask anybody for something, which made life a lot harder. And honestly, it made me a bad friend, because I would just use people in another way. But again, I don't regret it, and still I know you only knew how to raise us how you raised us because of all the things you went through and how your mother raised you. Like, you just brought that trauma down to us. But I've grown from it, I healed from it, and once you took accountability this past year and we started building our relationship, that lifted so much weight off of my shoulders. Like, when I tell you, I felt like I could now fly, because one thing I always wanted was to have a relationship with you, like a mother-daughter relationship. And although you didn't give birth to me, like, you raised me, like, you gave me life. And you are my mother, and I love you. Nobody could ever replace you. And thank you, like, for choosing to raise me and not giving birth to me. That's another thing. Like, thank you. Like, you didn't have to do that. You really didn't, but you did. So I'm truly grateful for that. Like, no matter how everything we went through, but you still didn't have to do that, and I truly am grateful for that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we really don't even use that the strong Black woman thing in our conversations because we know who we are. And I guess I'm so blessed and fortunate to have a husband who's loving, caring, nurturing, and supportive, that I don't feel like I have to be superwoman. There's a time to show up, and there's a time to show out. There's a time to fall back, and there's a time to step up. And I think that I showed you that and taught you that. We talk about this all the time, how to fall back. You're a work in progress. I love you for it, though. But I said, because I know you have a lot of me in you, and it's going to take time. But it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to relax. It's okay to release yourself. Let somebody else take charge.
That's interesting.
It's so exciting to be spoiled, to be loved on, to be taken care. And it took me a long time, to get there. Because you know what I always say? What I say? I run my house. So, in saying that, I'm just so happy that with growth and through time and, and talking and sharing. And we have such a great bond in a relationship because, you know what, all those little mistakes that I've made, you know, we talk about this all the time through marriage, especially, you know, with your dad. I said, Daria, because I'm coming from a good place. I'm coming from an honest place. And I don't like to feel vulnerable. I don't think anybody likes to, but it's okay to fall back.
I personally don't have a problem with being vulnerable at all. I think that coming from a 2-parent household, you get almost, and not every 2-parent household is healthy. The lessons that you have pumped into me as a woman is coming from a safe woman's place. I'm not a kept woman.
Right.
I am not a corporate America or even human service. I have had jobs. The woman that I'm turning into be is a woman that has to learn how to feel safe even if I am alone, even if there is no man.
Okay.
And because of that, I have other women in my life as well that are by themselves, like my aunts and things like that, who are not married per se, who are just as strong.
Right.
Because the expectations and the lessons and all that, your life, you are blessed. And
I know I am.
A lot of people don't realize that love is a luxury. It is not owed to you. It's funny because Black women, and I would say women of color, but it's not true. Black women are not raised to believe that someone is going to take care of you. Someone is going to marry you. Someone is going to love you on your picky hair days, your hair wrap days, your days where you don't feel the best. You never slipped in front of me. You always presented yourself well for daddy, and it was almost like a dream. So the world that I'm living in is a total different world than you have been kept in for 34 years. And I know it was work, but that is a rarity and it is a blessing. And so the things that you are expecting for me to feel and experience, maybe they'll happen, but I still have to find happiness and safety in my life without it, because that's my reality. So how I've been able to be happy without it is being vulnerable. And that has been my strength, because if I get vulnerable in front of somebody and say, get the hell out of my life, and they don't leave, I see it right through them. I see right through them. It's strength. It's strength to be able to face those, what other people would call demons. But really, it's strength to face rejection, to face the risk of the unknown.
Well, I will tell you honestly, and I say this, and my daughters try to reassure me or give me a reason not to worry. In the social climate that we live in, my daughter, Shanir, lives farther away from us, and sometimes she likes to take the scenic route home. And I have to tell you, I have said to her so many times, please do not drive that way, because all I could think about is something happening involving the police where she stopped, and God only knows how the ending would be. And I have said to her numerous times, please, please, please don't go that way. I need you to drive in a direction where you would be visible, where if God forbid something happens, someone would see you and you could get help. And so I say this to say that as a woman, as a Black woman, as a mother of 2 beautiful Black women, it breaks my heart. Words cannot really contain or explain the fear that resides within to know that this woman did nothing wrong, was in the comfort and safety of her own home, and her life was taken from her. So it is extremely hard for me having my daughter, who, because Anaya lives with me, but Shanir is in her own space and place. And I think about that all the time. I tell her, please, ask who it is, because she's so easygoing. She's the type, well, if you're knocking on my door, it's because you know me, or you have a reason to be here. And I'm like, please don't
Come on in.
I'm like, please be careful, know your surroundings. I'm constantly reminding them of that. Just be aware of your surroundings, watch who's around, be more cognizant of who's paying attention to you and what they're saying. And, even with the police, please be very, careful. We've been in situations where we've been pulled over and my daughters were afraid, and I was just like, okay, we're gonna be okay. But to live with that fear of the unknown is horrific. And it isn't easy, and I worry, I pray and I'm hopeful, not just for my children, but for everyone, that if they are ever placed in a situation such as that of course they would make it out alive, and just to be emotionally and mentally stable, and not to instill fear, because I know when it's all said and done, I want them to be aware. I don't want them to live in fear. I want them to have the emotional intelligence and the mental stability to know the difference and not to be biased either. So
I have a lot of concerns about my daughter's emotional and mental well-being. Number one, the pandemic has taken her away from physically being in school and with her friends. Because we're home more, we see more things on television. And I'm looking at Black girls, how they're being viewed. Another young lady was just slammed by a police officer at her school. And I tried to tell Alexandria that, we have law enforcement in our family, but I still worry about those out there who will not judge her by her character. As far as Breonna Taylor, that is somewhat personal, even though I don't know her and I don't know her family. It's because I used to live in Kentucky. We were stationed there, and I attended the University of Louisville, and I actually called up my roommate to see how she was doing, because she's right there in Louisville in the thick of it. And she said it was a scary time. And here Breonna Taylor was a first responder. She's out there helping to save lives. And if it wasn't for George Floyd, we might not even have heard of Breonna Taylor. It might have been swept under the rug. So I do worry about your mental state. I do worry about your emotional well-being, because I want you to enjoy life. And just all the things that are happening now, I can't even imagine that we went through that. We had issues growing up, but not to the degree that you're facing now.
That's so hurtful and so deep. I want you to always take care of yourself. If and when you ever are pulled over by an officer, a sheriff, detective, I've always told you what to do. First of all, turn that radio to Light FM, Jazz. Yes, officer, speak nice with your inner voice, because they have the upper hand. We can deal with all the other stuff later on. But in reference to Breonna, that was horrific. Laying in your bed, in your house, and a concealed carrier like myself. What do you do? It had me thinking, as a woman, I'm in my house, and you got the wrong address and you come in blazing. That's hurtful. That's detrimental. We haven't healed from that. It's going to take a long time. And I think about things like that, you know, because for some reason law enforcement frequently gets it wrong. Why, I don't know, but they get it wrong. You know, and it's hurtful, and I just would not want to be sitting in that seat. So we just have to stay in prayer, like I've been doing every day, all day over my children, and hoping that, you know, things in society will change and realize the value of our life as Black people. Because Black Lives Matter just didn't come about. They just put a name on it. We've been fighting. And I'm just so proud of the generation before right now, that you guys are not taking any prisoners. You are standing up what you believe, and some lives have been lost, but it's for a cause.
As far as my emotional and mental health regarding all of this, I think I take an approach of I just have to be purposeful every day. I have to be intentional every day, because it doesn't matter. You could be in your bed, crossing the street, in a car. You could say yes sir, no ma'am, whatever. If a person behind that gun has PTSD or anxiety or just don't care at all, it could be me. So who am I to say when my number is going to be called? So every day I move intentional. Every day I move purposefully. Every day I tell someone I love them. Every day I write in my journal. Every day, every day, every day, every day. Every day is love. So that's my footprints in this lifetime. I don't think you should be concerned about how, you know, I would carry myself. I know you know that I would be okay with that, but we can't control what other people do. I think that question is like weird a little bit, because, you know, we've always been on the short end of the stick of justice in this country. So we're all born with, I heard earlier, one of the other guests in this say, she told her son, you're born with 2 strikes, you know, being a male and being an African-American male, Black male. And I think we're born with more strikes than that. Being a person of color, being a Black, for me specifically, being a woman, being a Black woman, being a smart Black woman, then being an educated, smart Black woman, then being a street smart, educated, HBCU and predominantly white college, MBA, Masters in Business Administration, concentrated in executive leadership from the Jack Welch Management Institute.
Come on. You earned that.
4.0 GPA, but decided not to go Black and white. Corporate America decided to use that for humanity and creativity and collect the pandemic unemployment assistance check, because I'm still working out my dreams and goals for my people on the back end.
And you will get
it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
None of that matters. What we do doesn't matter. Us graduating from high school doesn't matter to them. It just makes us more intimidating.
Yes. Absolutely.
Every accomplishment, everything that makes a Black mother smile is what makes them hate us more.
So the objective and the idea of creating Black mothers, well, I wanted to highlight the aspects of Black relationships, period, and I started with Black love, which you can watch now on YouTube and Vimeo. And I was like, what can I do next? And Black mothers came to my mind, and at first I'm like, who? If I do that, will I have to sit down with my mother? And at first, I'm not gonna lie, I was scared. I'm like, no, I'm just not gonna invite her. I'm gonna be a part of it. But then, you know, when God puts that idea in your mind, like it's gonna keep coming to you. Then here comes some more. Like here comes some more. So really envisioning me and you actually, like really, I envisioned this moment, and to see it come to fruition, I'm not surprised. It was meant to happen. This was part of God's will, and but I knew it was gonna bring about something so much more in depth than we probably would go in depth if we were just sitting in your kitchen talking. And I know it's gonna get better after this. Like, our relationship is truly gonna blossom after this, and I look forward to that.